Alrighty, so I might have made a little bit of a goof, everybody. I totally did make a freaking way to grapple like we said we were going to do in the next devlog. Might have forgot to record it, but hear me out. It's totally fine because now I can show you the code here. It's not completely working yet. We still have to work out a few different things with the grapple to make it really pop and kind of stand as a function of its own. But I can actually show you what we got done here. I believe it is Z. So as you can see, we have a sort of grapple mechanic implemented now, where if a wall is within a certain distance from us, we can just grapple onto it, and it'll just zip us on over to it. The issue that we're having with the grapple is that if we grapple while we're on the ground, you can see it kind of sticks you to the ground still as you're going. And I think I know the reasoning for this. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But I think I understand the reasoning for why it sticks you to the ground until you get to a certain distance from the length. And I believe it has to do with the gravity scale that we are using. So Unreal Engine has a built-in gravity scale that forces you down to the ground whenever, anything is happening. And essentially, I think what it is that until we reach a certain point, our gravity scale is outweighing the move to vector in the z direction. So therefore, our z velocity is actually not getting changed properly. So it's very easy to change that. But as you can see, the grapple is at least set up. We still have to set up the hanging portion of it to where if we hit a wall going forward at them that we can't clamber, that we just go into a wall hang. But we should be able to set that up relatively quickly another day. I'm not going to do it today because today, folks and friends, we are going to be setting up a primitive little inventory system. Now, inventory systems are very scary for a lot of people. They obviously are not the most fun to set up just due to the fact that they're difficult, they're complex, they always have some sort of bug or feature that you do not want that is not working the proper way. So we are going to tackle an inventory system very primitive because the demo, I believe, is not going to require too much of the inventory system, but we will see how it goes. And hopefully you guys will also enjoy and learn a little bit out of it as well. So before we go into the inventory system today, let us just go over the scripts that I wrote for the what you call it, for the grapple. That way anybody following along can kind of understand and get an idea of what's going on with that. So where is it? I believe, okay. Oh yeah, we also coded in a dodge. Dodge is really simple. It just adds an impulse if you're standing or moving in a certain direction. If you're moving in a certain direction, it'll add an impulse. If you're standing still, it'll do an impulse backwards from you as like a little bit of a back step for the main character, which super simple. As for the hook system, what's going on with the hook system is that it is going to be linked to Eloy, or at least one of the spirits. And so if you have Eloy equipped, we will get a line trace. If we get a line, and from that line trace, it's basically saying, hey, get a line from the center of the player character towards where the reticle of the camera is aiming. And it'll trace that line, and then from there, it'll hit something if it's within, I believe I set it to 25 meters. So I set this to 25 meters. It'll get the first thing it hits within 25 meters. For those of you that don't know, floats in Unreal Engine 5 work off of centimeters. It's just the basic unit they use for distance. So every unit will be 1 centimeter. So 2,500 units is 25 meters. We can easily change that later on. We can even make a variable for it, be like hook length, and then we can make it editable. That way, like, if you want to upgrade the distance that you can grapple from, you can easily do that, and it'll be a great little thing. But for now, it's hard-coded in as 25 meters, and that is what it's set as. So it does a line trace. The line trace does not show up in the world. And then once it hits something, it'll return the first hit that it gets. And from there, if it is a blocking hit, it'll go over here. And if it did hit something, it'll run this code. If it didn't hit something, then nothing's gonna happen. I think that what we're gonna do is later on, once we get the animations worked out, because the animations are still being a little funky on my end, I apologize. But once we get the functions all worked out, we're gonna get it to where no matter what, something is gonna happen. But if it's false and it doesn't get a blocking hit, it'll do a different animation. Say she'll just whip out her vine rather than actually, trying to hook to something. Now, we are going to have a few different stuff that's gonna matter as well. Like, we are going to get probably the hit actor and ask for their mass and stuff like that, because we want to compare it to Aya's mass and go off of that. But that being said, we don't know appropriately yet whether we hold on. We don't know appropriately yet whether one's gonna do the other, exactly the specifics of every intricate detail of, like, hey, if it's this mass, do this and all that. So we're gonna wait a little bit, and we'll do the comparators of mass a little later on once we get actors set up and objects masses inputted and all this other stuff, and compare it and be able to compare. For now, it is just a hook. And if we do return something, just anything that gets hooked, we will run this bit of code. This is a timeline. A timeline is actually really helpful for a lot of stuff that you want to do over a set period of time. And essentially what it is it's getting the location of the thing that we hooked, the impact point, and it is getting our capsule collision, which is what the character is, who the character is. As you can see, the capsule collision is in here. And it's basically taking that capsule collision and saying, hey, throw the capsule collision along a line, a linear interpolation, a lerp. Throw the capsule collision along a line linearly towards the impact point. And it does that over alpha, which is the amount of time that we have. So I think I have the alpha in this set to 1. If I pull this up. No, the alpha looks like it is set. No, the alpha is set to 1, it looks like. But it's 3 on length. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about all this. It's just basically like 3 seconds, but it goes from our starting position to our ending position. And you can see that we have like a little bit of a curve to kind of implement a slower when we throw the hook, we'll start a little slow, and then we're going to go fast throughout the pull. And then once we hit the end, we slow down a little bit. That way the transition from the hook to the hang will be a little more fluid. It won't be as snappy. It won't... Well, snappy is usually a good term. It won't be as jagged, I guess is the best way to put it. You're going to be able to have like a little bit of an idea of like, oh, it looks more realistic. It looks like her bones aren't just completely snapping when she goes about this. So that's great. That's all that's going on with this. And essentially, the... I'm trying to think here. So we have this stop timeline in here as well, which I believe gets called on certain actions. Did I have that on jump? I believe I have it on jump. Maybe not. Oh well. I set that up, but I haven't quite implemented it yet. Basically, this stop timeline is going to be saying, hey, if this occurs, stop the timeline if it is even valid. So, if it's valid, stops it. If not, then it just continues, All is good. It's just making sure that we, essentially have different stuff that we can overlap, and we can stop the hook in mid-pull if we wish to. I don't know if we wish to yet. That's something I'm going to have to ask for the project lead on that. But for the most part, that is there just as a future proofing. We will be able to use this at some point. We do probably want to change this to stop hook timeline specifically, just because we're probably going to have more than just one timeline in here if I had to guess. But we we'll see how that continues. Now, the next thing we want to do is the inventory system. So, for inventory systems, it can get a little complicated, so I might not be able to explain everything perfectly to you all, but you gotta bear with me on this, that it might be a little bit fuzzy as we go through. Right here we have inventory, and do I have anything in here? I don't think I do. No, I don't have anything in here. I have the program, so I'll just do this like over from scratch real quick. Delete this. Force delete. Yeah, this isn't doing anything, so it shouldn't affect things too much. So, you don't want to force delete if you can help it. I end up force deleting a lot of things just because I create things that I don't need, and then I'm like, oh, well, I don't need this anymore, get rid of it. But, to create an inventory, what you're mostly going to want to do is get a actor component. You're going to want to create a blueprint, and then from the blueprint, you're going to want to make an actor component. What an actor component is it is essentially a blueprint that you can attach as sort of like a little addition onto one of your codes, one of your objects, actors, all this other stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an actor component, and then we're going to attach this to the third person character, thus making it to where the inventory is not necessarily coded within the third person character, but it is attached to the third person character, and then we can thus attach this inventory component to other things and make it to where we can make say storage spaces, containers that you can loot, and even we can make it to where certain enemies have specific inventories that you can loot out of as well, where if they die, you can go up to their bodies, interact with it, and then you can see their inventory and loot off of their inventory rather than just having a drop into the world for certain enemies. Say, humans obviously would more than likely have inventories rather than drop items themselves. So this is what's great for that, and it's really helpful for just pretty much everything that you want to do, looting and item wise. So what we are going to start off with is, I'm trying to think real quick. We probably want a map, which is going to be just the content of the inventory. It's just going to be basically all the items that you have, and we are going to make this a name, and we're going to change this over to map. So what map is it's basically making an array of two different variable types. So what it's going to be is we have the name, which is going to be the name of the item or equipment or weapon, anything in here that is going to be possible to acquire, you are going to have it here. And then the integer here that we are going to set for the second variable type in the map is going to be the quantity of that item that you are going to have. So say if we compile this blueprint, we can set a default value for inventory, which we don't want to do, but say we wanted to, we could go ahead and give Aya like a potion, and then we could set that to say 10 potions. When the character starts the game, they are going to have 10 potions, but if we leave this here, then every container is going to have 10 potions, every loot body is going to have 10 potions, every I guess if you're going to implement stealing, every stealing inventory is going to have 10 potions, which is why you don't really want to do a default inventory here. You want to set that when you attach it to your actors, because then it'll be default for that actor's inventory. So, whoops. I'll just remove all of that. It's just a way to make sure that you guys understand what's going on and what's happening here. And for functions, most inventories you're going to have at least 2 functions, which is add to inventory, which is just going to take an item and throw it into this map. It's going to put it into this map for you, thus making it to where you don't have to worry as much about arrays and all that, because quite personally, I don't like arrays. I think arrays can get complicated really fast, especially if you start going to the 3D arrays, which I just don't want to do. It's unnecessary, I think, at this point in the development process. So, we're going to make a function for add to inventory. We are going to make a function to remove from inventory. Now, this is going to be if we want to discard items, sell items, use items, consume items, all this other stuff. even if we're wanting to equip an item, say we don't want it to show in the inventory when it is equipped, so we can remove it from the inventory, and then when we equip a new item, we're going to be like, hey, take the item from that inventory slot and add to inventory now. It's really helpful for pretty much everything you do. These are the two functions that you are almost certainly going to have if you're going to have an inventory of any sort, and most modern games are going to have an inventory, so therefore you might want to get accustomed to this and get an idea of how to tweak and modify these to suit your needs. The third one that I'm going to put in here, just as sort of a fail-safe sort of option, is consume item. And what this is going to do is it's going to get the item, get the effect of the item, and basically apply it, and then it's going to remove one of that item from its inventory. It's really simple. You don't need this in every inventory because, like, a lot of times you're not going to be consuming. If you're only doing an equipment-based game, you don't consume any items. You just swap them in and out, and then maybe have a sell function for stuff like that, but that would just remove it and then add, say, gold to your character. So it's not really necessary, but it is helpful if you're wanting to cause item effects to happen when you click a button, or if you have quick slots, stuff like that. I recommend having consume items on a lot of RPGs and a lot of action games even, or maybe even FPSs with bullets, so you can kind of do a consume item, but that's going really fast and based more on fire rate, to which I think you could probably set that up via the actual actor of the gun. It might be easier, I'm not quite sure. That's something that I haven't really done much of, but it could be a way to kind of go about the FPS system of getting the bullets and acquiring magazines and all that other stuff. So, from here, we are going to get our content, and we are going to... Oh, this is consume item, so we don't want to be in consume item. We're going to start with add to inventory. From here, we are going to get our content, and we are going to find, and we want to see if... Hold on, let me see. True if an item was found. So we want to find the item and see if it is in here. So we need an input from this, which is going to be item name. And it's going to be here. And then we also want another input for item quantity, which is the quantity of items that we are going to be taking that have this name. Which means that we have to move this down just a tad. We're going to switch this to an integer. Boom. Okay. So, from there, we're going to find the item. If we have the item, cool. But, if we don't, we want to make sure that we go into a branch here. Beautiful. And from this branch, we're going to say, hey, if it's true, let me just get this going real quick. I have to double check and make sure that it's running in my mind real quick here to function properly. If we do have the item here, if the item is found, we want to... Oh, gosh, I can't remember. Content maps have a lot of weird functions, so I have to just make sure that I'm getting this right. Set content? No. We want to do... We want to set that specific item, so let me see if I can do set... Map. Add clear. I believe it's add. I think we want to do add. Yes. So we want to add the item name. Is there a different one here? Hold on. Let me just double check here. Contains... Checks whether the key is in a provided map. Find is empty. All keys present in the map. Values. Okay, cool. So, I think we can actually just... Something already is the provided key will be overwritten with the new value. Okay, yeah, so we don't actually need to do the branch here. Look at that! We don't need to do the branch. So what we do is we go here and we just add to inventory. And what it's going to do is it's going to check to see if we have that already. If we have that already, then we are going to add the quantity that we are looting to the existing quantity that we already have. And it's going to go into there. Now, if this returns with nothing, if this returns with that is false, I believe that this returns default constructed if key was not found. So I believe that the default item quantity is going to be 0. I could be wrong, but I believe that this is going to work out just fine. If it exists in the map, it's going to find the quantity that we already have related, add it to the quantity that we are looting, and then make a new key, essentially. If it doesn't exist, then we're gonna just make a new entry into there, and then bada bing, bada boom. If something already uses the provided key, it will be overwritten with the new value. After calling the key, is guaranteed to be associated with a value until a subsequent mutation of the map. So yeah, this should work fine. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with this, but just to be safe, we'll compile that. I don't think anything will go wrong here. Remove from inventory, we are going to have the same inputs, where we are going to have a quantity that we are removing, and then we are going to have the name of the item. And then from there, we are going to basically be doing the same thing. We are going to be finding the key, and then we are going to go over to here, which we are going to send into a remove node. Maybe not. Does it not remove? No, we don't want to remove. Yes, so we want to do add again, it looks like, I believe. Add again, and then we are going to have a subtract here. So we're going to find the value of the item that we have in the node, and we are going to do a subtract into the quantity here. And then we are going to do that and that. Now, the issue is that we need to make sure that we have the item in the map to begin with. So we want to make sure that of two little functions here, we want to make sure that, one, we have the item. So we're going to put this into an AND Boolean. And the reason we're using an AND Boolean is because we're checking two different things here. The other thing we want to check is to make sure that we have more or equal to the value that is getting subtracted here. So let me go ahead and take this away and just kind of like sort this a little bit easier for the eyes. We want to do an AND Boolean, which is, I'm going to put this down here. And we are going to put greater than equal. We want to check if A is greater than or equal to the quantity being subtracted. So we'll move this into here. Throw that down there. And then we're going to throw this into a branch, which should be our last sort of step before actually subtracting everything and doing it that way. So if both of these are true, if we have the item, and if the item quantity is greater than the subtracting quantity, or it's equal to the subtracting quantity, then we can go into the branch, which is true, which will be adding this, which will overwrite anything if it is under the same key. Now from there, we just get quantity again because it's a lot cleaner, I would say, in my opinion. And then we want to go... Okay, hold on. Nah. It's gonna get real funky if I do it this way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean it up a little bit. Kind of artificially here. Just give me a little bit of a second to figure out what I want to do with this. We're gonna use some rerouting nodes to make it a little prettier. And we're gonna move these down. And then the reroute is going to come over to here with the subtract. And that should work. I don't really like how this code looks. The lines are really noodly and kind of overlapping a little bit too much for my taste. But for the main part, this works. It's saying, hey, if we have a value that is greater than or equal to this quantity here and the key exists, we will go through to here. If not, then nothing will happen because you just can't do it. But I'm actually going to put this into a print string. That way we can bug test this later on. And we will put item doesn't exist or not enough. Not enough of said item. So this will print out if we try to call this function and not enough of the items exist. Now, this is just a failsafe to kind of, future-proof. If we're bug testing the inventory, we can kind of come back here and be like, oh, that's not right. Something's wrong. So that's just a way to kind of go about it. Now, for consume item, it's going to be very similar to the remove item. In fact, what we are going to do is actually take remove item and run it into here. And then for the consume item, we are going to want the inputs again of name and quantity. Beautiful. We'll move that down and go here. And we are going to change this to a integer. And we're going to just plug these straight in. So basically what we're doing here is we are going to remove this from the inventory if it's possible. And thus the amount that we are going to remove is going into the remove items. I don't know if we're going to only allow consuming one item at a time. If that's the case, then what we can do is we can take this input out and just put a 1 in the quantity. That way every time you consume an item, it's always going to be one item. But I'm just putting this here for now. We can change it later. It's what it really comes down to a lot of the time. And from there, we actually want to see if this is actually in the key first. So we want to get content, find, and then if this is a valid key, we are going to branch this kind of along the same lines. If this is a valid key, we will branch it into here to remove from inventory, which, it's a little redundant when we have it in remove from inventory as well, but we do need this here because there's going to be times where we are going to remove from an inventory where we are not consuming the item. And additionally, if we don't have this check here, if it goes into the remove from inventory and it completes without checking that, if it completes into the false branch here, say if we don't have the item, then the consume item needs to have this check here because no matter what, it's going to come out of this execution pin on the return node, which we don't want. What we can do to actually alleviate this is have a return node, I believe. Have a return node here with the output is removable as a Boolean. So if it is removable, if it goes through all of this, it is removable and it removes it. If it goes down to here, we want a separate return node where it is not removable. And then we can actually take the consume item out here. We don't need to get this check anymore because the remove from inventory will be doing the check now. Sorry if I sometimes do these things. I have to go through a little bit and then be like, oh no, there's a better way to code this. So, And then we're going to send that into a branch instead. Meaning that we don't have to have that double check. It just makes the code like a little more efficient. Maybe just one frame, but one frame in a million different places, makes the game run smoothly. So hopefully that fixes any kind problems we'll have later down the line with having multiple inventories running alongside of each other. So, if it's removable, we're going to come over to here. If it is not removable, then we want to print a string, not consumable. And we're going to do that. We will also have a check to see if the item is consumable, but we are never going to call this function if the item is not consumable. Hopefully, that is the dream. We will check to see what happens there. It might not be the case, but here's hoping. And then if it's true, we actually want to cause the item effect. So, we are now going to make a little bit of an item effect, which we will... I don't actually have a health stat yet. What we might do is make a little bit of a bar just to kind of show the, what you call it? Words, Lucid. Come on, buddy. We are going to make a little bit of a bar just kind of show what's happening, but we might also just print string. It'll be a little easier there. But we are going to make another variable called health. You thought we were going to make an RPG game without health? You're crazy. Of course we're going to put health in an RPG game. It's just that you're not going to see the bar. Haha. Get hacked. And we're actually going to change this over to current health. That way we have two separate values. Basically, when you're making health, stamina, anything that is going to be changed and you need to, like, put checks to it, you want to make sure to have a current and a max. That way, if the bar is going to be full or less than full, you want to make sure that you're able to actually divide current health by max health or current stat by max stat, and thus get the percentage that you are left with for the bar to be filled up with. It's pretty simple, but it is sometimes beginner coder's pitfall. So, it's just nice to have that. Now, we are about to change some things. So, stick with me for just a little bit here. We have objects. Okay, these are all the interactable objects, the overworld objects. We don't need to worry about this right now. Why does this have a cross in it? This is just a square. I don't know what's going on with that. But in inventory, we are going to make a folder called items. And this is where all of the items are going to be. Now we are going to do item actors. I'm going to rename that again. Item actors. And then we are also going to make a folder called item data assets. Now, there's a couple ways you can do setting up data in Unreal Engine. I prefer to go through data assets because it's much faster, I believe, for the processor to reference a specific data asset rather than when it goes off of a table, it has to go through each and every element in that table, find the element, and then read the data from that element. Which, granted, in a computer's sense, it's still going really fast. Obviously, it's going much, much faster than a human ever could. But the issue is that if we're doing this item lookup every time, it's going to bog down every time we try to look up the item, causing, once we have like a bigger list, maybe the full list, say it's like 1,000 items or something, if you have that much in the list, it could cause maybe half a second, quarter second delay, which could kind of mess up the feel of the game a little bit. I don't know exactly how many items we're going to have in the end game, but for now, we're going to be doing this here. And it will all work out just a tad better. Now, inside of the item data assets, we want to make a blueprint class, which should be, I believe, primary data asset. Yes. What is this? I'm pretty sure we just do this one. I don't know what this label is. I believe we just go off of primary data asset here. Did this just get added? So in my other projects where I'm using the primary data assets, I don't see primary asset labels, so I'm a little worried that I created something and I don't know what it is. I'm 90% sure it's primary data asset, so we're just going to do that. Now, you can have as many primary data assets as you want. Obviously, this is going to be the PDA, primary data asset of inventory items, I guess. Or we'll just put items, because this is going to have equipment, all this other stuff. Now, inside of here, we are going to make a bunch of variables. So we are going to be making the name. We are going to be making the max stack size. And then we are going to be making item effects. So from here, the name is obviously going to be, I think we're going to do text for the name. I think that's the most ideal. Max stack size, we're going to be integers. Item effects, we have not set up yet, but that is going to be changed later on, so just bear with us. Max stack size, we want a description of the item, which is also going to be text. And we will more than likely want a thumbnail of the item as well. So let's just go ahead and put thumbnail in here, which will be... Can we just put image? I think we can just put image, but I want to say that it's like 2D texture is better. 2D texture. Texture 2D. So we'll put that there. And that should be it. I'm just double checking real quick to see in my mind if there's anything else we could add. I don't think immediately there's anything that I want to add to this. I think that this should be good for now. Which, now, if we go into here, if we compile and save, I'm just going to go ahead and save all. Like, do that every now and then. If we save all and then we go into miscellaneous, you will see that we have a data asset here, which we can then click PDA items. If we do that, we will then bring up this, which is a new data asset, and then we'll just rename this. This is going to be, I'm just going to make a simple potion, but obviously this can be whatever you want. So I'm just going to make a potion right now. Potion. And then inside of there, you'll bring it up, and you'll see that this is just a list of all those variables we created in the primary data asset. So for max stack size, a lot of games tend to go with just 99 for the max stack size. If you're playing Minecraft, you'll notice that a lot of items do 64, 16, and then some have 1. It's just like equipment and stuff like that. The item effects we don't have yet, so don't even worry about that. The thumbnail we don't have, I believe. I could be wrong. So for now, I like to use these two little guys, the icons green and red here. Since potion is a good effect that we're going to be having, the thumbnail will just be green. We're just going to keep that there. That way, later on, we will hopefully have, we'll hopefully have like a little pop. It's going to show up, and when we're creating the UI, we'll have the icon there. So for description, we obviously don't know if potions are going to be completely in the game yet. I'm just making this as sort of a reference. That way, people that come back and look at it can understand the thought process. And for the description, we'll just put heals. Do we want to put you, or do we want to specifically put Aya? I guess that this can be changed. So we'll just put heals you for 25% of your max HP. So this can be changed. The description and name, all of this is easily changeable. You just come in here and you change the data asset to whatever you want. But that's that there. Now, if you guys remember, we also had item actors. Now, in item actors, we have a couple things that we want to set up as well. First off, we are going to make a blueprint class an actor. And this is going to be item parent. Now, every item that you create will be inherited off of this parent. Basically, it makes it a lot faster to kind of make items and variations of items and such like that, if you are able to make an item parent that kind of reflects what the stuff in there wants. If we go into this, every item that we have is more than likely going to have a model associated with it, whether it be a big model, small model, nanite, you know, whatever you want. It's more than likely going to have some sort of mesh. So we are going to have a static mesh, because pretty much everything is going to have that, which I actually, hold on. Cannot be copied, renamed, or deleted. It can be replaced by drag dropping another scene component over it. Can be attached to other scene components. So what I'm thinking here is genuinely... Well, first off, let's go about this. We're going to have, for all these objects and items, we're more than likely going to have some sort of collision as well. This collision will probably change shape based on what item it is. Say, like, obviously, if you have a crate that you're picking up, box collision would work. Capsule would be like a cylindrical potion, and then sphere, you know, just whatever. The collision shapes will change depending on the item. But for now, for the base collision, we'll just put this here, and this will change based on the item, but it's nice to at least have a base collision here to begin with. And then for the static mesh, let's put... Do we have a potion? Do we have a bottle? Wait, bottles? Why are you over there, buddy? Drag and drop there. And static mesh the bottle. We are going to move you in and down. Beautiful. So we at least have this bottle here. And then the collision, we will make this to fit it. The capsule radius we're going to put about there. Is that right? Looks close enough for me there. Maybe not. Maybe we want this a little lower like that. Yeah. Okay. So for now, this will do. It's obviously not going to stay like this, but for now, this is what it's going to be. This is the item pair that is getting set up, and then we want to... We don't need event tick. We probably don't need actor begin overlap, if I had to guess. I mean, if it drops onto the ground, if we want actor begin overlap, we probably want to add it to the third-person character's inventory. So I'll leave that here. For now, no, we don't need to do anything here. I don't think we need to do anything here. One thing is for sure, we are going to go ahead and add the component that we made, the inventory component, to the third-person character. So we have BPC, blueprint component inventory, and we're going to add that to the blueprint third-person character. So all we have to do is go to the components in the top left here, which houses, you know, character movement component, camera, arms, all this other glorious stuff. We just hit add, and we go down to inventory. Boom. BPC third-person inventory. And we'll just put character inventory. Now, this is not affecting the blueprint component. Every component is unique to the actor that they are attached to. So, what is this meaning? It basically means that the main character's component, the main character's inventory, will not be the same as a storage unit's inventory, or as your follower's inventory, or as a mount's inventory, or an NPC's inventory. All of them will be unique to the character that they are attached to, which is very helpful, because then you can change the inventory of each actor within the world without having to worry too much about whether or not there's going to be issues. Sorry, I'm just going to do that. That way it's cleaner, because it was bothering me that the lines were coming over top of this. I'm weird. I'm very OCD about my code, and obviously sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it, because the lines don't work properly the way that you would want them to. But that being said, I try to make it as clean and readable as possible when I can, because I don't know, it makes me happy. It makes me real happy to just have clean code. It's something that I feel like should make most every programmer happy, but I've seen some projects where the code is atrocious to look at. So, With that being said, let me go up here as well. This isn't set up fully yet, but I'm still gonna make this look nice as well. Break this link. All right. That looks a lot better. For now. Stop tweaking. You're not working on this part today. Stop tweaking it. Okay, okay, I'll stop tweaking it. I'll just take a drink of water instead. All right, beautiful. So, with that done, what is the next thing we were doing? We were setting up item parents. So, the item parent has a static mesh and a collision box set up with it now. What you are going to want to do is also kind of set up the interact buttons, I guess. No, you don't really need to set up interact buttons. Trying to think here. I think this is all we need in the parent for now. There might be things later on that we want to do if any of these collide and stuff like that. I think that we're going to want the interact interface. I could be wrong, but I think we want the interact interface with this. So we are going to go ahead and just put the interact interface here, and we can change that later. I might be wrong. We might not want that here. But interfaces are super powerful, super helpful. I like them a lot. So we're just going to have that there for a future reference. Now, from there... Now, hold on 1 second. Yeah, okay. This'll work. So, from there, we're going to create a child blueprint class, and we're just going to name this BP underscore potion. And we're also going to rename this real quick, because I have a really bad habit of not liking when things aren't lined up correctly. But we're going to just name this BP, I think we're going to do BPP, BP parent, underscore item. So this is the parent. Yeah. So the parent will be at the end because it is named differently at the beginning here. So this will be BPP item. This is BP potion. And then inside here, we want to do an actor where on begin play, we want to cause a function to occur. So in the function for this, we are obviously just going to heal player. Now, the input that we want is going to be one input. It's going to be actor. Or, I guess, character. Character. This is going to... So the thing is I'm trying to think of this as a future-proofing stuff for the potion, when I'm not even sure we need the potion to begin with in the long run. So, we're going to just focus on making this a single-player potion. If you're doing this for multiplayer, you want to make sure that if you're using a potion... Sorry, I had a hair in my mouth. You want to do this later... future-proof it for later on, where, like, if there is a second player, third player, fourth player, if you want to make sure that they can heal each other, that's hard-coded and all that, but we can come and change this, I think, later on, because, you know, we are just making the demo right now. It's not indicative of the final product. So, we are only doing single player, and what we want to do is we want to get player character, and then from there, we want to get current health. which we did not compile. Let's compile this real quick. I believe that should be working now. It's not working. Do we have to cast? I'm trying to think if we have to cast here. We might have to cast to a third-person character, to BP third-person character, and then convert to pure cast, because this is always, if you get the player character, it will always be this. And we are going to get current health. There we go. We want to get current health. We are going to... We also want to set current health. So, set current health. This is going to be over here. What we are going to be doing is setting the current health to, obviously, a higher amount. So we want to get current health. Get max health. And from max health, we are going to be healing a percentage amount of it from the current health. So from here, we want to multiply max health by 0.25, since that's what we coded in. This can be changed later on. And then essentially from there, we want to get current health and add to it the 0.25 of max health. And then from there, we also want to make sure that we clamp this. What clamp does is it just makes sure that we have a range inside of this for the health. So if we clamp the float here, we make sure that the health, right now as it's set, current health will always end on this, after this add, between 0 and 1. So we don't want it to be between 0 and 1. We want it to be between 0 and whatever our max health is. So we just drag from max health into there. And then from this item should work. Should. But we're not entirely positive yet. So we're going to compile this. This, in theory, is working right now. We have a potion that is healing 25% of our max health, which our max health, I don't think we actually set this stuff yet. So let us go ahead and say, set max health to 100. Set current health to, let's set it to 80. That way we can test, if it goes above that 100 mark with the clamp and whatever. But we're going to be starting basically with 80 health. Once we heal, max health is going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. We'll be good. Which we do want to spawn actor. I'm trying to make sure that we get this right, because spawning the actor, we should spawn the actor in only if we want to. We don't have to have the collision there. Sometimes we want it for the model to be socketed to like the hand or something when they're taking the drink action and stuff like that. But we are just gonna leave it there for now. And now we have a bit of an issue where we're gonna have to go back and change a couple things. So for BPC inventory, you know that we had this set to name, but now we want to change it to trying to think. Do we want to do BPP parent? BPP item. I'm trying to think if we need to do object or class. Reference an instanced object of type BPP item. Yes, okay, we want an object. And we're going to change variables. It's going to break a couple things in our BPC inventory. It's fine. We'll fix that in a little bit. So, with that being changed, we also want to change this to BPP item, object. And we're just going to change this from name to item. Beautiful. And you see that this broke a lot of things, which, if I was thinking ahead, we would have fixed this ahead of time. But, whoopsie daisies, I might have goofed a little bit. So just give me a sec while I go through and meticulously change all of this. Believe that's good. No longer exists on get node. Okay, break. Change this to BPP. Okay, that's all set. Let me just do a double check here. That looks good. And then in consume item, that should all be not consumable. All right, let's change that to not consumable. All right, and then that should fix all the issues we had with BPC inventory, I believe. Now let's go into here, character inventory, and we want to go to... Isn't there a way to change the default? We don't want tags. Asset user data. No. There's a way to change default values, and I'm not thinking right now. Boom. Am I doing something wrong here? I think this is how you set this up. Yeah, you should be able to set this. A default value from character inventory. Because you should be able to set the default variable of content here. All right, let me pause real quick and double check that I'm not missing something for the inventory component. So I'll be right back, guys and gals, and we will see what's happening here. Okay, we're back. I don't know what it is. I just goofed a little bit, I guess. So we have essentially what we should have done is set it to a class, but in here I instead decided to go off of the data assets that we made earlier, and we can kind of set up the effects from there. So it's not too much has changed. We're just basically choosing to do the inventory off of the primary data asset, and from the data asset we're going to choose like data asset potion and stuff like that. So I goofed a little bit. It's not too big of a deal, but now we can set the default to a potion and then set our inventory to have 10 potions. It's just as simple as that. I had to rewire all of these to PDA items, so that's what happens. But now we get to change item effects to item parent BPP items, and then we want to do a class reference here because we want to reference a class that inherits from BPP item. Essentially what we are going to be doing is we're going to be searching BPP items, being like, okay, well, we want a specific item that is a child of BPP items. So if we compile that and then go back into potion, we can go to BP potion. Or we can just choose BPP item itself. This basically is just showing all the children and siblings therein of BPP item, which is easy enough to understand. Basically, a child is something that derives from a parent in Unreal Engine 5 code, which is kind of intuitive, because a child IRL is something that derives from their parents. So it's pretty nice, pretty awesome, and we're going to be just setting BP potion here. So the max stack size is going to be 99, which is what we're going to save for now. And if we go into add inventory, we actually want to do something with the max stack size here. So from the item, we want to get max. Whoa, I did not type that right. Get max stack size. And basically we want to check if... Hold on 1 second. If this value is greater than the max stack size that we have here, we want to... I'm trying to think. So we're gonna branch this essentially because we don't want to be able to go over the max stack size, right? We don't want to be able to go over the max stack size for any one item because essentially we want to make sure to limit it. So if it goes over the max stack size, what we want to do is actually a separate function where we are still going to add, but we're going to be adding different quantities. So what we want is we want to get the amount until it reaches the max stack size. So we want to get content here. God, this is getting messy. I hate this. Move every bit of this down real quick. Move it down like this. That kind of works. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean this up so it's not as noodly when it's going about this business. Which is easier said than done. Break this link, move this out to here, and then we can actually move you down here. Okay. So beautiful. We have all this set up down here. It's checking the max stack size, what have you, and all that. From here, we want to add if the max stack size is... if this is not greater than the max stack size. But if this number is greater than the max stack size, then we want to subtract... I'm trying to think. Because we want to add it up until 99. So we want to do 99 subtracted from content quantity. Get quantity. Boom, 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 boom. And then we want to item. Get item. We're going to be doing a separate one here. Find item. Boop. And then from there, we are going to subtract this from get max stack size. And then the number that's there is going to be the number that we subtract from the item quantity here. So we want to get item quantity. And we want to subtract that. And then we are basically going to be adding this. we want to do a separate add. Just going to break this and move and get a new item. And then we want to go into a return node. This is going to have remaining quantity, which will be an integer. And the remaining quantity will be equal to that. But if we are not getting that, then we're going to go into a return node, and the remaining quantity will just be 0. So that should fix any issues we have if we try to pick up items that are obviously more than our max stack size. Hopefully that fixes it. Now, could be wrong, but hey. Okay, let's see. Because essentially what I'm going to do for inventories and like storage units, we are going to do the add to inventory function first for adding the items to the player inventory. And then once we get the remaining quantity for the return node, we are going to put that into, add to inventory for the storage unit. I believe that is how we're going to function with it. But for now, we'll tackle that a little later. We'll see if this works for now. And now we are going to be setting up a UI for it. Now, I believe we have a UI actually printed out here in our dev sheets. So let me just go ahead and go in here. We're going to make a user widget and a widget blueprint, which I don't know why my stuff does this, but it does it all the time. Excuse me. And we're just going to name this W_inventory screen. Sure. And this is going to be a very primitive widget, so just bear with us. But we are going to make a second widget because we need to make a widget that is able to be a specific inventory box. So this is going to be an inventory. I didn't spell that right. Inventory slot. So this is going to be a slot of the inventory, whereas this is going to be the whole screen because we're going to show more than just inventory slots in the inventory section. Before we continue, there is actually one more thing that I forgot to do. Under items and item data assets, we are actually going to make an enumeration because this is going to be item categories. Now, what an item category is going to be is like if the item is consumable, a potion, loot, key items, equipment, stuff like that. So this is going to be E for enumeration, underscore, and then item category. So if we go into PDA items, we add a new variable. We're just going to put category. And this is going to be E_item category. And then this will give us choices to choose which item category every single of these items is going to be. We are going to compile, save that. And we're actually going to change the max stack size, the default max stack size to 99 since I don't know what our max stack sizes are going to be yet. So we'll just do that for now. That way, every time we create a data asset, the max stack size will automatically be set to 99. So that should be done. And now let's go into the enum item categories. We're going to go ahead and add, let's say 3 for now. And we'll just do key item. I think we might actually have this shown somewhere. Let me check real quick before I do something I'm not supposed to. So we have key items. We have ammunition is one of them on this. Ammunition. And then it looks like we have armor. Weapons. And then we have 2 extra tabs, which, cool. But I will go ahead and make 2 extra tabs. For now, we'll just do consumable. And then, like, crafting. Because we will have a crafting system in the game. This might be... You know what? Let's change this to materials for now. Materials. That way it's nice and set up there. Just double checking here to make sure. It looks like they're going to have a sort tab by names, types, number, which is the, I'm assuming is the amount, and one says time. That might be when you picked up the item, but we can figure that out later. I've not made a sorting system for inventories yet, which I have been wanting to learn, so I think that we can figure that out. Is it as simple as this? I think there's this built-in sort function now that I think about it. Hold on. They're like sort? This sounds crazy, but I want to say there is actually like a sort function. Sort. There's not. Well, it's too bad. We can write that later. I just wanted to see if there's an easy way to set it up, because if there was, then I was gonna, you know, throw that all in. Would have been easy, and we wouldn't have to deal with it later. But seems we're gonna have to code that. Get all these, and then for DA potion, we are going to. Why does it say E max? What the heck? What's going on here? What does E max mean? Never seen that. Category E max. Let's set that to key item for the category for the default. I don't know what E max is doing. I'm assuming that's just like if you add one in later on. I have no clue. But this is under consumables, so we're gonna put it in consumables. Can save that. And now we have, I believe, pretty much everything that we're gonna need. I could be wrong here, but it's looking like that is all that we're gonna need for now, at least. And we can close out. Let's go ahead and save the enums. We don't need that open anymore, or this. Okay. So, we do have a section for items. Okay. So this is an interesting screen that we have here. Let me just pause real quick and make sure that this is up to date before I make an inventory screen that we don't want. Because we have a few iterations of an inventory screen here, and I don't want to make something that that is not true to what we want. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to pause the recording and double check with the project lead and maybe eat some lunch. And then when we come back, I will work on making the widget. So yeah, BRB, guys. Alrighty, I am back. We got some answers, and we can continue with making the UI now. So, if we go into the inventory slot to begin with, let's just go in here real quick. We're going to do a very simple inventory slot. We're just going to do a border. Get the border slotted in here. This border is going to be set to... Hold on. Do I need to do a... I might need to do... Hold on. I'm trying to think a little bit. Because borders can have a single child. I think I need to do an overlay. I need to wrap this with an overlay real quick. Wrap with overlay. The overlay is going to be... Transform. we are going to desired on-screen, custom on-screen. Yes. Okay. So this is going to be fill, and this is going to fill up here. We're going to fill this whole entire border here, and we want it to be a perfect square, which we will have all that set up eventually. But for now, we're just going to do this. And then we also want an image, which will be the thumbnail we set up earlier. We are going to have the image over top, and since we don't really have anything here, we will put... Since the potion is going to be icon green, we'll set this to icon red for testing purposes, just to make sure that we have all this layered correctly. We don't want that. We want that there. Okay, and then this is going to be filling. Filling, and then let's put some padding on it to make sure that it's kind of smaller, it's contained inside of there. Obviously, this is not like that great of an image. We'll get thumbnails done, I'm assuming, at a later date. We also want text, and we're gonna want at least one text box. We might want more, but for now, let's get one text box in here in the overlay. And the text box we're going to want to align to the bottom right. Maybe bottom left. Right, left, right. I don't know. Do we need the overlay? I mean, do we need the border? We might not need the border. I don't know. We'll figure this out. I'm still a little new to all this stuff, so give me a second. But for this, we are going to be making the text variable. And then this is going to be the quantity of the item that is going to be slotted in here. So let's just go ahead and set the default value as 0 times 0, I guess. And we also want to set the font size down. Now, I haven't been told the font that we're going to be using here, so we're just going to keep it as Roboto. Actually, wow, they only have 3 fonts in Unreal Engine naturally, so I guess we're going to go to Droid Sans Mono? What about Roboto Tiny? Roboto Tiny is not bad. Bold italic, bold. We'll just set it like this for now. I think this will be fine. And essentially what this is going to be like every single slot that is added is going to have this, essentially, this little button that is here. So we are going to set all these buttons to be like this. Let me also add in the button itself, because we don't have that yet. Because I think buttons can only have one child. Yes. Okay, we want this to be above here. That way it's behind everything, and we want the button to fill the screen. So for the image, we have about a 10 pixel padding on 100 pixels, which we might be doing 100 pixels, we might be doing more, might be doing less. I'm not sure yet. We're going to be fiddling around with it to see what we like and come up with. The overlay, I believe we can put a padding on the overlay. It looks like we can't. A little upsetting. So let's go ahead and say, like, what if we set this to, I don't know, 300 and 300? And see, now we have an issue where the padding, yes, the picture enlarges and all that, but the text kind of stays the same, which is a little bit of an issue, but all these are going to be the same, so once we get it settled in and what we want, it should be fine. I think that 100 by 100 is probably the closest to what we are going to have in game. We might do more, might do less, like I said. So let's go ahead and stick with 100 by 100. This is what I'm expecting to see when we make the buttons. Now, I do want a padding in the left and right by... 10's a little too much. 5? It's not bad. 5 looks about right. The image we will have to change. This will be image underscore thumbnail. Beautiful. Put that to a variable. And then the button's not really going to be changed too much, but we will have to change this to actually dispatch an event. So the event dispatch will be essentially getting the item that we have and then pulling up a list of things that we can do. You can either drag it to put it somewhere. You can either click on it and it'll pull up a list of like, hey, use, equip, all this other stuff, or we can have it discard as well. So with that said, I believe we can go to the graph and make an event dispatcher and do on call. Do I want to do on call here? No. I think I'm just gonna do just do call for now. Boom. And then we're gonna want to change the thumbnail, text quality, quantity, all this other stuff. When the button, we want to get this to be unclicked when the button is pressed, when the button is clicked, on hovered, on unhovered. So unclicked, we want to dispatch call. Call. Maybe we just do, because I'm trying to think. We're gonna have a few different options for this. Because the actual UI for this is what's the difficult part of the inventory. And that's why I'm trying to make sure I get this set up all right. Or else we're going to have some issues. Let's just focus. Let's just say this is done for now. I think that we might need to change stuff later on. Oh, well. Cool. Okay, now for the actual inventory screen, what we want to have is a canvas panel. Because this is basically what a canvas panel does is it makes to where this is how the screen will line up. It's a 16:9 stuff. And so this should, I think this should fill it all out. If I put it up there. Yeah, this is about 1920 by 1080. So this is how big the screen will be for us. See that we have 0, 0, and then about 1920 by 1080 down here. If you look at the size up at this icon here. So let me go and grab the screen that we have printed out here and just kind of move some things around. That way we have things roughly in the right spot. What we're going to need is a border. I believe that this will be a border. Borders can only have one child. Okay, maybe not. But it looks like we do want a scroll box to scroll stuff. The scroll box is going to be anchored in the bottom right. Control Shift to update the alignment to match. Control Shift, not what I meant to do. We Control Shift click, and then it'll put this all the way back down in the bottom right, because that is where we are probably going to anchor this. I could be wrong. Inside the control box, we want a uniform grid. Uniform grid panel. Maybe. And then this will be a variable because we're going to be adding stuff into this uniform grid. Grid underscore inventory contents. That'll be fine. Inventory contents. And then if the grid is too big, then you know, stuff will happen. Does that look about right? About there. I'll keep it there for now. No, we're gonna want this much smaller. Out there. Maybe even smaller than that. I don't know. We're going to want a scene with the player's model. We're going to want a few tabs up here as well. Over here, I don't know if the uniform grid is going to work the way that I want it to here. Because the uniform grid might not be what I'm thinking. But we will see. We will definitely see. Uh, bu 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 bu. Give me 1 second. Let's go to inventory. Event construct. We do want to get the player characters inventory. So if we get... No, we can do that in the main inventory here. Because basically we want to do... We don't need event tick or event... You can do this either on event construct or event pre-construct. What event pre-construct does is it basically makes it to where it's... constructing it here will actually show your inventory, whereas event construct will be it only shows it if you construct it in game. I prefer to do event construct and just show it in game, but it is completely up to you. So just do what you guys want, and we'll go from there. Gosh, I am hiccuping and stuff. I guess lunch must have really messed with my diaphragm or something, because ooh. Okay, so if we get player character, and since player character is always in BP third person character, we are going to cast BP. Whoops, not Blackboard. BP third person character. Convert this to a pure cast because this should always work. Get inventory, character inventory. And then from there, we want to get content. Yes. Get content. And this will show us all of the items that are in the player inventory's inventory, or that are in the player inventory. Words. Words are hard. Alright, so this is going to get us every single thing that is in the player inventory. So how about we just do this, and then for each... Can you not do that? I think you do keys. There we go. So you get the keys, which is basically returning every item that's within the player inventory. And when you construct, for each item, you want to construct a child. Whoop. Okay, for each loop. Put that in there. And then now we're getting the array index, which is the... Hold on. Okay, I get it now. So this is the array index because we are transferring one element of this content into a 1D array, which is basically saying that the keys are now transferred into a 1D array. But what we want to get is that array element, and we want to branch off of content and go into find this. And then from there, we want to create a child of this, of the grid. So if we go to create widget, I think we want create widget. Give me 1 second. We want to do create widget. The owning player should be player character, right? Get player character. What is this? Player controller. Ah. Get player controller. So the owning person is going to be the player controller. It's going to just go right in there. Beautiful. Whoop. And then we're going to get the widget that we just made, which is an inventory slot. So we're going to create a widget inventory slot. Now, this right now is not doing much. It's essentially just saying, hey, we're creating a widget. but we want to make the widget a child of the inventory contents. So if we do that, we want to basically make a child, add child to this. And this will make an inventory slot into the child. And the content will be that. And then from there, we are wanting to add an event to this. Which, let me clean this up. I gotta sneeze. I'm gonna lose it. Let me just think for a bit. We want to create event. Nope. That's not what we want to do. We do want to make an event, though. Not that. Because we're making an inventory slot, creating, adding child. I know I've done this before. Give me 1 second. I need to reference a freaking project that I have where I've done this, so I will be right back. Okie dokie. So I have the other project pulled up now. So give me just a second to figure out what I'm doing. We'll go back in here. And it looks as though we're doing the thing that I was looking for was find find event on. Did I not compile this? Call. Find event to call. There we go. Which I might actually change. I'll do just do item selected here. It'll make it easier because call is kind of like a general term, and we don't want it to be that. We want to kind of change it up. Okay, so when we get the event item selected, which is going to be played out here, this is going to be call item selected. We are going to cause this event down here to happen, which is going to be a custom event on item selected. Beautiful. Also, it looks like I did this wrong over here, because it looks like I'm supposed to get a component by class. So let me just do that instead, because it does kind of cut down on the by class. Beautiful. It does cut down on processing time to do it this way, because it's not going through three nodes, it's just going through one node. So it does help out a little bit here, but we're just going to be doing the same thing. We're just going to get content. Beautiful. We get content, put that there, and slot it in there. All right. So all of that should be set up pretty much the same now. And from there, we're basically going to want to call we're going to want to pull up a different widget. So what we want is a dialog box of some sort that allows us to pull up a widget that's like, hey, what do you want to do with this item? Do you want to use it, drop it, or this, that, or the other? So what we are going to do is give me a second to think about this. We would need to make another widget, I believe. Oop. User widget. And this will be rename this to W_item options. All right. And essentially what this is going to do is on item selected, it is going to create a widget of selecting class item options. Boom. So now we have this. It's going to bring up item options. It's going to be the player controller stuff. which, let me just double check. Oh, apparently we don't need to put the... Hold on. We do need a variable here. We need a variable here to get the item information. So what we're going to do is create a new variable, which is in the inventory slot, and we're going to do item data. This is just going to be us getting the data for the item. If we go to PDA, and this is where we just collect the item data that we're getting from PDA items. I believe we can do an object reference. I think it's object reference that we want. And we go back into here. Oh, wait, no, we have to go back here. And then we want this to be instance editable and expose on spawn. So we want this to be able to be shown whenever we create this widget. So that makes it to where we can then go here. If we refresh this node, well, let me refresh node. And now we have item data here. Since we don't really need to do a find here, because if it's going to be in the keys, it's going to be in the loop. We don't really need to do a find. But if we do this and then we just pipe that down to there, then this should do it and make sure that each time we iterate this loop, it is going to update this to a different item data, or at least whatever the item data is in the loop. And therefore, the children should all be different. But that's in theory. So we are going to do on item selected, create W item options widget, and from there we want to basically get the widget that we just made down here. The item options are going to be a little different, because essentially what we were wanting to do here is let us get a border. We're going to have a border with a vertical box. In the vertical box, we do not want the border to be this big. We do not want you to be huge. Custom. Ow. Custom on screen. And for the vertical box, we're going to have 3 different buttons. In the buttons, for now, we are going to have... This is going to be a button for use item. This is going to be the button for, let's say, drop item. And then we'll have a third button for equip item for now. All right. So that's all we have here. We want the vertical box to obviously fill the options box here, all this other stuff. So it's going to create a widget of this, and it's going to basically put it all inside of the border that we have, which should be fine for now. Now, what we want to do, it's creating this item options, and we want to create this at the mouse cursor's location. So give me 1 second to figure this out. Let's go into here. Well, I guess we should put text into each of these. We need a text box for each of these buttons. Beautiful. The text box will make 12-point font. Sure. It's still a little big, isn't it? Let's make it 10. Sure. That looks fine. We'll play around with the sizes and all that. I'm just making sure that we have something usable for now. What does open border do? Oh, it brings up in the C++. Sorry, I was curious. I just had to see what this did. And it just brings up the C++ code for it, which we don't need right now. We're just working in Blueprint. There we go. Close that out. Content color and opacity. Have all this. What if we did... Because, like, I usually use border for this stuff, but what if we did... No, border makes sense. What's this? Display the value of an object properties. Oh, maybe this is what we want. Set of all tiles to make a widget usable as an entry in a tile view must inherit user object list entry interface. So a list view that presents the contents as a set of tiles all uniformly sized. We might want to do tile view for what I'm thinking. And overlay, safe zone, scale box. Based on the box's allotted area. Size box. I think we want to change this to a size box. So let's replace this with... Oh, we can't do that. What if we do... What? This can only have one children? What if we wrap with a size box? And then delete. Okay, figured that would happen. Do I need the border? I think I do need the border. Does this work? Maybe. It's not looking like it's working. Because I want to set the specific size of it. God, I hate when this freaking thing bugs out. Okay, we don't want that. Custom. Let's make the height a little more. And let's set all of these to fill. So that way, all of these should take up the same amount of space. And then we're going to set the height to, let's say, 300. So that's width. I goofed. Okay, 300. That is a little bit scary. We don't probably want it that big. Let's do 180. That sounds good for now. But the thing is that these are ramming right next to each other, all of them. So we do want to put some padding on them. So I'm going to say 5. No, that is 50 on the padding. Far too much. Let's do a 5 on the padding for now for each of these. Just to try and get them a little spaced out from each other. And give us a little bit more comfort when it comes to the ability we have to differentiate between each of them. I don't understand why Unreal does this. Let's go ahead and set this down to 150. There. That's a little bit better. I like that. And this is going to be... So the text block here is not going to change. It's always going to say use item. The text blocks here is always going to say drop item. And the text blocks here will always say Equip. I think equip should be above drop, right? I feel like equip should be above drop. So we'll do equip there and then drop at the bottom. Alrighty. And for each of these, we want different event dispatchers. I think. Trying to think. So on use item, on clicked, we want to remove the item. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the player character. We're going to get their, what you call it, component by class. We want inventory. And then from there, we want to use item. We don't have the use item function? Am I crazy? I thought we made the use item function. Consume item. Okay. I think we should rename that to use item. It's just an easier title. Consume item can be used for different stuff, so I'm gonna do that. Use item. And then from there we want quantity, which the quantity will default be set to 1. We'll just say it's 1 for now. And the item, we need to get that out of here. We want a separate function, which will be item data. So we're kind of like porting these over one after the other. We're kind of daisy chaining it. It's a little weird, but I want this to be here because if we just click and it automatically uses, it might cause some issues with the player where the player will not know that clicking or not remember that clicking will do this. And essentially we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, that a little menu comes up and it's like, hey, you're clicking, make sure that this is what you need, and all that stuff. Instance editable, expose on spawn. If we compile that and then we go back to the inventory screen here and then refresh this node. Beautiful. We should put this back into here as well. Which we want to make sure that that works properly. So we're going to make this widget that is getting fed into item data as well. And essentially this doesn't need item data, I think. I don't believe this needs... No, this needs the item data for the thumbnail and the all that stuff. And then the reason this needs item data is to make sure that it finds the correct thing to disrupt. Or to affect. So go to item options. And then from here, we are going to be getting this. We are going to be using the item data that we get when we construct. I believe. Am I wrong? I think this is right. And then we want to remove this from parent. Remove from parent. No. Do I? Because this will remove it from. Trying to think. I want it to destroy the actor, essentially. We want to destroy this. But I don't know if destroy actor works here. Destroy component. Unregistered mark for pending kill a component. This may not be used to destroy a component that is owned by an actor unless the owning actor is calling the function. I don't think I want to destroy component. I think I just want to remove from parent. And this should remove all of this, right? Trying to make sure that this is right. And then self. Can we do an add child to self? We cannot. Because what I'm thinking is to make this a child of the inventory screen, but it doesn't seem like I can do that. Give me a second here. So we're doing that. And then we're like... If a widget was added to the player's screen or the viewport, it will also be removed from those containers. Okay, cool. So that is what we want to do. We want to remove from parent self. Yes. And then on button drop item, we want to do the similar thing, but instead we want to do remove. Is it not remove? Oh my gosh, what did I name this? No, it's remove from inventory. There we go. Remove from inventory. So, get that out of here. We need to do button drop item. When this is clicked, we want to... Oh, we want to, like, ask how many is going to be removed. But I don't know if we want to make a separate widget for that. You know what? Let's just do one for now, and we'll figure it out from there. I think doing one for now and figuring it out a little later on is okay. We just want to make sure that this all functions correctly for now. So we'll do that, and item data should be the same. Boop. Go. 1. And then we also want to update the screen. So we need to update the inventory screen, essentially, which is going to be like, hey, oh no, we changed the inventory, come back and change the number here. Which shouldn't be too bad. Just bear with me a little bit. I want to add this to the viewport. And then set visibility. Just making sure that this will always set the visibility to be visible in the viewport. Hopefully it's in front of the UI. We will check that in a little bit. All right. With that, let's compile and save everything. Just save all, just being sure. Save selected, yes. All right. And then we also want to remove from parent. Alrighty. Compile. Alrighty. So, I think I have one thing that I need to do for BPC inventory real quick that I didn't think about. Remove from inventory. We want to check if this is removable in the first place. So we want to get the enumeration that we have as well. Where's this reference to delete? Okay. I don't know where that was referenced. Okay. So we want to get the enumeration for stuff as well. Because if it is an enumeration, we want to make sure to if it's a key item, we want to make sure to bypass remove from inventory, essentially. Because key items we're obviously never going to remove from inventory unless there's a specific moment in the game that's like, hey, get that out of your inventory. We want to make sure that key items are not able to be lost or dropped or done anything of the sort to, or else it could end up soft locking the player later in the game. So, for another input, we want to do the E underscore item, I think is what we called it. E underscore item category. And we just want to do item category, which we will get from this, actually. So we don't need an input, sorry. I goofed. But from here, we want to get item, get category. And we want to put this into a switch, I believe. So from here, we're going to put this into a switch. And it's going to say, hey, check if it's any of these. Oh, the sneeze is back. The sneeze is back. So, if it is a material, consumable, weapons, we are going to leave up in the air. I think that weapons are going to be specific and armor is going to be specific, but ammunition is not, so we're going to move all of these down to there. All of these can be removed, but if there is any of these items, the key item, armor, or weapons, we're going to move up to here and just immediately return it into not removable. We don't want these to be removed at all whatsoever, because if they're ever removed, it could cause issues. It could cause the player to be weaker, causing him to, you know, obviously have difficulties, maybe not want to play the game, this, that, and the other, which is a problem because you obviously want people to play your game. So we're going to just move those into not removable and compile that. The use item should be fine. We're going to probably want to get the category, and we'll probably want to set a different a different boolean down here just for the return to be able to account for, like, hey, it was a key item, it was this item, this, that, and the other, and we'll be able to do all that later on. But I just wanted to make sure to put that in there before I forgot, that way none of our key items get removed. Add to inventory. I think add to inventory should be fine still. What's going on? Why is this like this? I already forgot. Oh no, see, this is what you get when you don't label your things. Okay, no, I get it. Never mind, we're good. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, and then the remaining quantity will be left in that box. We'll set that up on a per box basis, I believe, if I'm thinking correctly. All right. So we got item options here. We're gonna remove from these. That looks to be good for now. Equip item we don't really have because we need to get the sockets for the model and all that set up. So we're going to leave equip item kind of blank for now. Item inventory screen, item data, item data. Okay, so we are going to want to, for each of these, we're going to want to change the inventory slot to reflect the things. So essentially, we're going to want to change the image thumbnail to the thumbnail of the item, and then we're going to want to change the quantity to the item quantity currently listed from this content over here. So what we're going to do is a find node. We're going to just move all of this over a bit. Beautiful. And then from here, this is going to come up here. All right. So quantity, we are going to, we don't need you right now. We're going to change the text quantity. So what we can do is in here, get quantity. Boom. Not integer 64, integer. And we can make this instance editable and expose on spawn. And instead, we'll do the construct from in here. So we'll do get quantity from in here. And we will get text, set text. And so this is setting the text of the numbers down here. This will be setting the text of these numbers. So what we want to do is out of set text, we want to actually get a format text. And this allows you to format the text in any way you want. So essentially, we are going to do, it is going to be an X. And then from there, we just want to denote a argument, which is basically like, hey, you gotta input some sort of variable into here in order for it to work. And so you denote that by doing the, I think these are called braces, technically, but you know, it can be whatever you want. And then this is just the quantity of the item, which is like that. And you need to, of course, close the brace. And then once you close the brace, you can flip that in there, and that should set the text for this to be whatever the quantity it is fed in is. So on construct, this should set that. If it's working properly, which hopefully it is. All right. And then from there, we want to change the image thumbnail, which I believe this is change brush, set brush image. Yes, set brush image. Set brush from texture. And from there, we want to get the item data. We want to get thumbnail. And the thumbnail should be a 2D texture, which we will throw into there. And that should be everything for its construction. Should be. Since it's getting the item data, this should be all the stuff from the construction that it's getting set. The only issue is that from here, we need to refresh this. And now the quantity is here, so if we break this link and throw this here, we should be able to go and put the quantity in there. And so when it creates, this is the quantity that it's going to be set as. It is going to do everything that it needs in order to make this all run smoothly. However, this is going to have some issues that we can tackle here after a bit. When we use the item from the item options widget, we have to decrement this quantity for the inventory slot and for the BPC inventory, which it is already decrementing for the BPC inventory, but what it needs to do is update the inventory from the BPC inventory to reflect this as well. It's a lot of inventory words, but essentially what we're trying to do is say, hey, when this is used, show that it's been used in the number. That's all that language was used. That all the language that I used prior was meaning, which is simple enough, and we can actually do that from BPC inventory here, where beautiful. We can actually trying to think here, because we want to update the inventory, right? Which would be resetting all of that stuff in there, because it won't be able to tell which of the slots it won't be able to tell immediately which of the slots happened. So what we can do is change this whole section into a function and cause the function to rerun after it's decremented, which is possible. It's not going to be the most efficient way, but it is a possibility. There's also for, let's see, we could get the inventory slot widget that this is attached to, possibly, because on item selected is sending this in, getting the same data, sending that in, doing all that, and then it's giving us the use item and all that. Trying to think of a way that this could work, because we want to get this specific inventory slot that this is happening and change that. So we can bind events to these, which is basically doing like an event chain, which I'm not sure if it's smart to do, but we could do that. Because basically what we could do is bind an event here, because we can make 2 more event dispatchers over in item options. Because we can make these guys event dispatchers and call them. And drop item. I'm trying to think if this could work. Because these are basically saying, hey, we did this. And if we bind those, if we bind these to run a certain, like, update on this, If we bind event to use item, what if we delete that? Just go to update inventory. We make a custom event. Hmm. What I'm thinking is we could do this, and then from there we can set the quantity of the widgets, but I don't think that that's going to really work. I think that that's going to cause, like, us to push the problem back, rather than fixing it right now, and I would rather fix it right now. So give me just a minute. Let me pause the recording real quick, guys. I'm gonna ponder this over for a little bit and see if I can't figure out a way to fix this. Okay, I thought it over for just a second, and I think I've figured out a solution. Don't know if it's going to be the solution or not, but just give me a moment of your time, and I promise I'll change your view. So, we are still going to cause an event to get dispatched to. So, just give me a second. We are going to be calling update inventory. We're going to be doing that, compile. And then basically what we're going to be doing is we are going to be calling update inventory to update the specific slot. So what we can do, I think, move all this back, and then go over to here because we want to bind event to update inventory. And then we're gonna put an event here, a custom event, to on inventory updated. Beautiful. Like so. And then from there, we're actually gonna call this all the way down here. We're going to do update slot. Beautiful. And we are going to kind of just make this go like there-ish. So we do have a little bit of a daisy chain of events, binding events, which I don't know if, like, is considered bad code or not. I haven't heard anybody, like, particularly speak out against it yet, but I feel like this should be able to bind multiple events in a row and kind of daisy chain them down in order to make it to where we can kind of have a more fluid and option-filled inventory delivery system. And on update slot, we actually just want to get the new quantity. So here we are going to be getting an input, which, why do I not have it here? Update slot. There we go. Inputs. And then we want to have the new quantity that is there. So we're going to get the new quantity. And then once we get the new quantity, we also want to change that to an integer. Once we get the new quantity, we kind of want to run the set text again. So we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste this over without that. Boop. Copy, paste. Okay. Unreal, be difficult, why don't you? Please? Why is Unreal's copy and paste not working? There we go. I'm going to scream. There we go. Jesus. Alright. And then from this quantity, we are going to set the new quantity. This is just to help the fact that we might want to stay in the inventory screen after we have used an item, and say if we want to use multiple items in a row, we can do that. But obviously, we want to kind of circumnavigate having to rebuild the entire structure every single time that we do that. So this is how we kind of circumnavigate that, and hopefully it'll work. I don't know if it'll work. In theory, in my brain, this is what makes sense, and it is just basically updating and setting the slots. So hopefully that is gonna be proper. And we can actually further use this to condense this down, I believe. Yeah, we can actually further condense this down because of it. So if we go here and go to update slot, we can do this. And this should further condense the code down. That way we don't have, like, multiple of the same thing going on all the time. And yeah, I think it works. I could be wrong, but in theory, this is making sense to me. And if it makes sense, it makes dollars. All right. Beautiful. So, with that problem figured out, we are going to go on to changing the design of the grid here, because we want to replace this with not a uniform grid. We want to replace this with a different thing. So let me go ahead and just take that out. We still want to add a child, but we're going to change it from this. We don't want to uniform grid because I don't think that that'll work with the box. We want a list, which will be a tile view, I believe. Let me just double check. A virtualized list, to make a widget usable as an entry in a list view, it must inherit from the IE user object list entry interface. I don't know. See if this works. Even if doing custom stuff, this is always required as a fallback. No entry widget class. Maybe we do uniform grid then. Let's just move it back to uniform grid for now. I'm not sure, like, because lists that are kind of weird sometimes, and you want to have it like all set up properly. Boom. Okay. So we're updating slot. And the quantity that we want, because we never finished this out, we need to get the quantity from this. I don't know if this will work. Because the issue with this is that it's kind of... It'll be finding this stuff at different points, at different points in time. So I don't know if this will work properly or not, but it seems like this would be great if it did work properly. I think this might cause a bug in the inventory, but we will address that when we get to it. So for now, this is fine. We are going to now go to the HUD. All right, this is the weapon wheel. Oh yeah, this is where I was making the weapon wheel. Just don't mind that. So we have enhanced action. We want like an inventory. We don't have an enhanced action for inventory. Let me see if we have this mapped real quick so I can put that up. We do not have a button mapped for inventory, it appears. So I'm going to... Escape is for menu. Maybe this is what menu is supposed to be? Nah, this surely isn't what menu is supposed to be. Because menu, I'm assuming, is for options and all that stuff. So we're going to make a different mapping for inventory. Just real quick. Which, to do that, where did we put player input? And we want one for inventory. Looks good there. We'll go into IMC default and then add the input for inventory. And I think that it's good to just set this as I. We only want it to trigger once when pressed. And then we'll do a flip-flop. That way we can have that all the stuff going. We also want another input mapping, which I have the controller here. And let us do this. Add gamepad special left. That way when you hit the left side special, it should pull this up. I know on Xbox this might cause some issues, so we might have to do something else. But for now, this should work for me for testing and bug-wise stuff. So let's go ahead and set that as the trigger for pressed. Beautiful. Save all. And if we go back into the HUD, this is just me trying to set up the weapon wheel. Don't worry too much about this. It's not properly made yet, so I'm still figuring that out. Do we not have enhanced input? Yeah, okay. Inventory. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Okay, here we go. Inventory. So what we want to do is when this is triggered, we want to create widget And then we want to add as a child. Because we wanted to add as a child of this. I believe. Can we do to add as a child of the HUD? And then on construct, it's going to do that. Go all through there. The HUD should always be up. We need the player controller, I believe. But let's just do this and set the visibility to make sure that all of that stuff that we already set up is working right now. Okay, compile. I think all this is working. Let me check. Unresolved compiler errors. Why is this not compiling? Add child. Ah! That'll do. Alright. Beautiful. I think that this should work now. If I press I, we can see we have 10 potions that are just sitting there now. So at least the inventory is being pulled up. Now, if I'm understanding things correctly, the project lead wants us to be able to move while the inventory is up, but I could be wrong. I will double check with them about it sometime soon. But I believe that this is functioning as we want it to, but we have to obviously get the mouse cursor in, and I also want to test if we have a couple more items set up here. So let me go ahead and do a couple more items with different icons just real quick here to see if it's actually iterating for each item in the loop. So we go into blueprints, and we go into inventory items. Let's make a couple things, you know. So we're going to make a data asset for let's make a data asset for like arrows. So DA underscore arrows, which will be ammunition. We can go in and set all this and max stack size 99, name, just arrow. Thumbnail. Do we have arrow? Does not appear so. We have like a weird arrow here. Sure, that'll do. Item effect we don't have. It's not a key item. It will be ammunition. Nothing set there. What do we put here? Because this should be consumable. Okay, cool. So that's all set up. Save. So the effect. I'm trying to think. It wants to spawn the actor from this. Yeah. But we don't need to spawn the actor yet, so it's fine. And let's go ahead and create a couple more. What should this one be? Let's do DA underscore. Let's make like apples, because I know that we have some apple stuff in there. So DA underscore apple. And let's go ahead and make DA underscore bread. Sure. And these will all be consumables. So this is for apple, name, apple, max stack size 99. Do we have an apple in here? We do not. So let's put the apple as... Why do we have the Android icon? Why is that in here? Yeah, sure. We'll put it as an Android for now. The consumable, good. And we'll go into DA bread. Bread. And let's give it a weird one. Let's give bread just like an analog hat here. Sure. Um, that's also consumable. File save all. Now we can close out all of these data assets and the input. We don't need that. And then let's go back into our player and just give them these 4 items. Boop, boop. Give them some arrows. We'll say that the arrows are 99 arrows. We'll give them 5 loaves of bread and like 25 apples. All right. Compile. And let's see if that makes the grid. And it appears that it's not making it a uniform grid here. So it's overlapping all of the children on one area, which is not what we want. Which, ooh, how do we fix that? It's adding a child. So it's weird because it should be adding children. That's not what I wanted. You guys like wireframes? We click. Let me check here. Inventory. Inventory screen. It should be evenly dividing up this space, but it's not for some reason. I figured it would show me the children here, but it's not. Why is this happening? Hmm. Let's try. So we have this, a list view that presents the contents as a set of all tiles, all uniformly sized. And do 100 widgets in a list. Alright, let me pause for just a second while I try to figure this one out as well. Sorry for all the pauses today. We'll be right back. Well, that's an easy fix. Turns out that when it comes to scroll boxes, we don't need that. We can actually just do children right into this scroll box. So it's box underscore contents. Box underscore inventory contents. Sure. So it appears that we can just do this as we need to switch this to a variable. We can just do this box as the one getting children, which is interesting. Let's see if this works, hopefully. And if not, then we're gonna have some issues. All right, so we have this box getting its inventory contents, but you see, it is a little bit weird because they are stretching all of the inventory into these like stretched forms, but it is at least displaying them all. So that's a step forward. That is a step forward indeed. What I'm thinking is probably we go into here. Hmm. No, we don't want that. This is setting where it's going to be. Bar style. Hmm. So the issue is that it's not creating tiles. It's creating bar-like buttons, which we don't want. So what I'm thinking first off is we go to a list of tile views, maybe? So maybe replace this with tile view? Let's see if this will work. Now, it does strictly say that we need to have these, like, in a different way, but if I just size, let me just size this real quick. It says that we need the widgets to no entry widget class specified on this list. Even if doing custom stuff, this is always required as a fallback. So, let's me do tiles. Let's just do list underscore inventory contents. Okay, let's remove this. And so that's not actually allowed to go in there. Okay. Hmm. We'll figure this out. We'll figure this out. Let's try. Because we do want a scroll box, is what I'm thinking. Like, no matter what, we want the scroll box here, right? Hmm. If we add children to this, does it work? We're just gonna try a few things. We're gonna try a few things and see what happens with them. Pile. That's there like that now, but I don't know if it'll ever vertically change. Because what I'm scared of is once we get past a certain point, it's not going to wrap the icons down. So, I think what we can do is test that. Let's see if it wraps those down. Just put some more duplicate keys are not allowed in map properties. Okay. Well, first off, inventory slot, designer. We'll set this to 150 for now, see if that helps. Compile. We want that to be bigger. Hmm. Let's just put it 300, because it didn't look like it changed the size at all when I did this last time. So I want to see if changing this is changing the size or not. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of our slots is none, so we can just let me delete this. Delete. There we go. Okay, cool. That one was reading as none, just giving us an error when we tried to open the list. So the issue is that these are not sizing as big as I want it. So we need to wrap these in size boxes, I believe, in order to make them bigger. But the problem is that people playing on different size screens and all this other stuff might have different sizes that they need for the boxes. So that's what I'm a little worried about right now, is that I would rather it take up a percentage of the screen dependent on what kind of screen you're using. I still think size box is what we're looking for here. See if that works. Much bigger. But you can see that it's already cutting off the sides of that tile there. So we don't want that. Horizontal box, behavior, advanced. Maybe we change that to a stack box? See what happens here. We're just trying a few things out. Because I don't believe that what I've done in the past will work with this. It's still causing an issue there. Maybe the stack box has some options to set, though. I do want some padding on each one of these. Let's give them each 5 padding. That's not what we want either. So it looks like the stack box can flow horizontally or vertically, but that's not what we want. We want it to be able to wrap once it reaches the end of the screen, which is an issue because I don't know if these can actually do that or not. Wrap box? Okay, let's try wrap box. This seems like it would work perfectly. There we go. It is the wrap box that we want. Okay, cool. That is not bad at all. Look at there. Okay. Glorious, glorious, glorious. Now we have that all set up. We need to set up the rest of the inventory screen. But before we do that, I'm going to take a quick break because I'm going to go to the bathroom now that we have stuff figured out and actually working. So I'll be right back. All right. We are back, everyone. And better than ever. Let us continue with the shenanigans with the inventory system today. Or I guess not today, but just continue more. So we don't need to be in here. I want to have a couple things made here. Just a couple more things, that way I can start working with a little system that they want. Let's like a little tab system going on in the inventory screen. So we need to make so we have ammunition, we have consumables. Let me just double check here. We want, let's make a key item and a material DA real quick, just so we can have them. Boom, boom. And we will have miscellaneous data assets off of PDA items, select. And this is going to be DA underscore, like, I don't know if this is what the proper name of it's going to be, but we'll just call it slime for now. And it's basically like when you kill a slime, I guess we'll call it slime drop. Slime droplet? Sure. Slime droplet. We'll have that here. Do we have... Yes, we do have the slime icon. So we actually have one of the icons here. Beautiful. And then this will be a material. Item effect not going to be set. This is going to be slime. Description doesn't need to be set. And then all that is good. So we have the slime droplet here. And then let's go ahead and make a key item. How about we make this just called like the whistle? Because what we're going to have is like a little way to summon a mount that you can ride on and all that. So let's just make like a whistle, basic whistle. It's not really going to be that necessary to keep it as is, but I just want to test the tab system that we're going to be setting up here. So we will get the whistle. Beautiful. And we want to set the thumbnail. Do we have a whistle? What about like a horn? No. In that case, let us see what we can use. We have a lot of textures here, which is a little frustrating. How about we just make it the bear? Sure, we'll make it the bear. And then this will be a whistle. And this will be a key item. Beautiful. So now we have 6 items? Something like that. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Okay, let's go ahead and throw these into our player's inventory, base inventory, just to have these for testing purposes. So we have slime droplet. We'll just go ahead and give them 15 slime droplets. And then obviously for the whistle, we will give them 1. Alrighty. Let us see what happens here. First off, we want to see that they're being put in correctly. Yes, they are all in there. You can see we have the newly acquired slime, and we have the bear. Rawr. Okay. So, with that done, we want to start making a couple things. We still need to finish up the UI of the inventory screen because we have all of this set up now. It's great and glorious, but I actually need to set up the HUD to allow me to put in inputs. So for now, we're going to get the player controller. Get player controller. And what we want to do is actually assign this to a flip-flop. So what a flip-flop does is it essentially flips the sequence that you use. So when we press the inventory button the first time, it'll run this code. If we press it the second time, it'll run the B code. So it's just saying, like, basically, it'll flip-flop between these two to set up what you need. For now, it's going to be fine to do this, but once we get the full menu set up, I'm assuming that there's going to be a button inside of the menu that's like, hey, check inventory. So we're going to have to do a separate function then and actually get it to where, like, hey, is the inventory there? If not, then destroy, you know, stuff like that. But for now, it is completely fine, and we don't need to worry about it too much. And the second part of the flip-flop will just be, we want this to be removed from the parent. Beautiful. We're actually gonna, you know what, I think that we should... No, I don't think we need to do that. I was gonna promote it to a variable, but I don't think we need to actually promote it for the variable at all. So we're just gonna do this real quick. And I'm going to see if this will open and close the inventory before we continue, because removing it from the parent is very important to make sure that it works. Looks like the flip-flop is working properly, but that might change once we switch the input mode. So, what is this? We don't need this anymore. Okay, cool. So once we switch the input, it might change. We might need to do a couple things. But essentially, when we open up our inventory, what we want to do is we want to make sure to set game input mode. And we want it to be game and UI. But The issue is that the camera works off of the mouse, and if we're using that to select things, then it can cause some issues with the mouse input being taken. So I don't know if this will work the way I want it to. Um, I don't know what flush input does. Hide cursor during capture. Um, but we're going to set this input to that, and we're going to set the focus widget to this as well. And we are also going to set show mouse cursor, because we want to make sure that the player can see their mouse, and that's going to go up. And then when the flip-flop happens, we want to essentially set input mode to just game, to game only. Boom. And we want to set show mouse cursor again. Only thing is that we want to make sure that that goes to false. Beautiful. Now, we're going to test to see if the options menu is going to come up. So, if I press that, you can see that, oh, it does lock the view. Okay, so the view does lock, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So, luckily, we don't have to worry too much about that. The fact that the mouse cursor is now focused here. Okay, if you click and hold, you can still rotate, which actually I... it's weird enough to say, but bug to feature question mark? I think that that's actually fine. And you can kind of have this inventory up and at all times. But if we click on one of these, it is not showing. Okay, so the use item, equip item, and drop item are coming up here. So if we hit drop item, it's not doing anything. Use item, not consumable. Interesting. So, is it because the last item fed in is this? Hmm. Okay, so we have some issues going on with the creation of those. First off, we want to make sure that when we click, it gets the mouse. So maybe we want to do something a little different. So inventory screen, we have bind event to item selected. Maybe we don't want to bind event. Bind to... No, it's bind event. Hmm. So the issue is that the event is getting... Why is it not positioning this? It's the platform's mouse cursor position in the local space of the viewport widget. Because we want to get the mouse position, essentially, right? If we do this, compile, play, and we go to inventory, click this, oh my. We hit use item, it's not consumable. So it's not registering these ones properly to what it should be. So that is an issue. And we need to figure out why. And I think what it is... I think it's the fact that it's the last array element that it's grabbing here. So it needs, instead of, we can't have this here. We want the item data from this, from the inventory slot. So because we're gonna have a child for each one of these, right? And essentially we want to get the child that is proper and essentially get the one that it's linked to this. Get item data. Is it like this, I think? Perhaps this is what we should have. No. Excuse me. Um, gosh. Trying to figure this out. So give me just a second. Because, like, the issue is that what it's taking is it's taking the last one as the update. As the one that it should be reading off of. And we don't want that. We want it to be able to read from any of these. And use any of them that pop up. Which I feel like this should be assigning each slot. It's item options, item data. Hmm. Because it's doing, like, when we go to remove, it's doing this up here as well, but it's not removing from the parent for some reason. I don't know why it's not doing that. I believe it's something to do with this daisy chain effect that I have going on here. Because this item data is getting overwritten each time. We want to get... Do we want to store these into an array, maybe? Because what I'm thinking is storing the item data into an array. Because we could build an array and basically find it based off of the index that these are set to. I'm just trying to figure out how we could do that. Because we need to make sure that these aren't all just the same thing. And we can't just set new variables, I don't think. Choo 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 choo. Choo 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 choo. One frustration onto the next. Come on, think a little bit. Because if we didn't want it to have like the drag and drop functionality and all that other stuff later on and still have this, then it would be a lot easier. But that's the issue. We have different stuff that we want going on. Also, we do want, let's see, event construct on clicked button. So we want something to be like on press, called when the button is pressed, called when the button is clicked. Um, we want it to be on hold and then like drag. So we need a drag and drop functionality, which I'll work on some other time. Hmm. What am I trying to do here? Because we want separate events, I guess. Can we do separate events for each one? I don't think we can. Because it's just one event going on here. And then this isn't even getting called because, no, this is getting called, I believe. Hold on. Use item, remove for parent, call update inventory. Yeah. So it's calling the proper, like it's updating the thing. So yeah, we just need to make sure that each, slot has its own item data, but we don't know which ones are going to be active at runtime, you know? So that's the problem that we're facing here. We don't know which slots are going to be active when we need them. And so that's what the problem is going to be. The problem therein will lie. Maybe this and get item. Because we want to get the child specifically. Because it's making all the children, right? And then every one of these children has their item data in here. Oh, that's an issue. Item category removed from inventory. Access none, trying to read. Okay. That's key item. No, it should be getting a category. Anyways. Turns the base slot type. Adds a new child widget to the container. Returns the base slot type. Content widget. So we want to get the thing that is causing the... Okay, I think I have an idea. We want to set... We want to set the... Oh, okay. I just don't know how to set these at runtime. Let me pause 1 second again. See if I can figure something out here. Okay, I think I have an idea of what I'm doing here. Maybe. So, on clicked, we are going to call item selected here, right? But I don't think we actually want that. Yeah, I don't think we want that. So this might be extraneous code. I don't know yet. We're just going to cut this out. But on clicked, because the item data that we have is stored in here, right? The item data we have is stored within the item slots. So what we want to do is on clicked, we want to be able to find an event to or no, we want to create a widget. We want to create a widget from class. The class is going to be item options here. And the data asset will be the item data that we have here. So this is being linked to the inventory slot's specific item data that it has. And from there, hear me out. When we update inventory, we want to update slot. So, go here. Bind event to update inventory. And then from there, we want to update slot, right? Oh, no, we're going to do a custom event. Custom event on update inventory. We are going to update the slot, I believe. Which is going to be there. And to update the slot, we need to... What is going on here? Okay. And then from here, we want to get player character. And we want to get component by class. So this returns the first component it finds, but we only will ever have one inventory component, so it's not too much of a hassle here. And then we want to get or find we want to get content, right? Get content. Yes. And then from there, we want to find there. And then from there, we are going to port in the new quantity. I think. Compile. Let's see if that fixes this. I don't know if it will, but let's see if that fixes this. Because I have a feeling that that's what we needed. Okay, this is not adding it to the viewport. I need to add it to the viewport real quick. It's creating the child. Okay, yeah, it's creating the child and everything. It's creating the widget, but we just need to basically add it to the viewport. So we expand, and we just go to add to viewport. Boop. Boop. All right, that should work. Dude. Use item. Use the item. Beautiful. This should cause not consumable. This is a material, so use item. It went down. This, I don't remember what the android was, but this should be consumable. Android was bread. Yeah. Arrows should not be able to be used, but for now they are. So that is working now. All right. Beautiful. We figured it out. We figured it out. Boys and gals and non-binary pals, we figured it out. Let's go. That's working out great. Okay. So, now that we have all this set up and we fixed our brain a little bit, we now have the issue of, one, we need to figure out the sorting stuff, and two, we need to figure out, I'm going to take this off, go whoop, and whoop, because it was just bothering me. Yeah. Okay. Now we need to finish setting up the rest of this inventory screen, which means we have to compile a bunch of stuff and save it all. Love that. Okay, go into the designer. We have to pull up the sheet that we are basing this off of, which is pretty simple. We have a canvas panel here, which is just, you know, setting it up to where, like, hey, if this is open on any kind of any type of screen, this canvas will be like boop 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 pew pew pew. This goes here, this goes there, that goes there. So what we are going to do now is we're going to have another horizontal box, and we're going to put this inside of the canvas panel as well. And these are going to be our sorting buttons. So this will be box underscore sorting buttons. And these are just going to be a bunch of buttons to change how we sort the stuff inside of our inventory contents. So let us do that now. With that, we are going to have, it appears that there's going to be 4 buttons. Button inside of here. And the button size, let us go ahead and anchor this to the right side here. And then just so I can move this. Okay. we want these to be relatively small, so we're going to try and get them to about a square size, right above where our panel is here. Okay, so size Y, we're going to just set this to 30. There's going to be 4 buttons, so each button is going to have its own little thing. Let's see, size, we do not want auto fill, maybe? It's saying that there's 4 buttons in here, so we're going to go ahead and set that to fill, and then just duplicate them 4 times. And actually, no. Do we want to duplicate them already? Nah, we can figure this out. So, the box is currently... Say we want them to be each 30 by 30. So if we want each of them to be 30 by 30, then what we need to do is essentially set this to 120. Now they're each perfectly square. But the issue is that we also want to add about a 5 pixel gap on each side of them for each one, which means that they're going to be 30 by 40 total, which is going to up them to a 160, I believe. So if we set it like that, I think that adding the padding now to left and right. Adding to the left and right. Just a quick little thing that I have to do for each of these. Left, right. And you can see that they're slowly slotting into being perfectly set up as squares now. Right. Oh, that's 50, not 5. All right. And now they each are perfectly square. So they're each set up exactly how we want them. We can just kind of move them around a little bit more. What we want is to have each of these be a different sorting method. We can change these later on. It's just that what we have right now is what we have. So the text, we want each of these buttons to have their own text to denote what is... Oh my god, this is awful looking. Okay, so we want each of these buttons to have their own text, right? And that is going to be... I'm going to set these fonts down to like an 8, I think. Yeah, I think 8 is going to be what we want right now. Just get it small enough to where they don't overlap nearly as much. And hopefully it also gets it small enough to where they fit inside of their own little boxes. So this text block is going to be... we don't want any padding. Uniform margin. Valid margin formats are uniform margin, horizontal, vertical margins. Okay, so let's do 0. Like that. I don't know why it's not going all the way to the left here. Either way, we are going to set this to time. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out. I don't know why it's doing the way that it's doing there, but we'll figure this out at some point. Bind, maybe? Nope. Okay. And then name is the next one. Next one was type. And then this is just number, which I'm assuming is supposed to be quantity, but I could be wrong on that. Something I'm going to have to figure out later on. Why are these texts... Why are they like that? Because... So that works. Yeah. Okay. For some reason, aligning text left is a little weird, but we want to justify and align it to the middle here. Which, I don't know why that's under this transform policy, maybe to upper, to lower, whatever. But it's the justification, apparently, that we want to change here, so... we are going to do that, and hopefully they stay relatively, there. Which, here it's going to be pretty small, but once you're actually in-game, this will be a lot bigger, a lot easier to read. But for now, we're going to set it to that. And compile. We want each of these buttons. We don't want these to be hit testable, so I don't think that they are automatically. Visibility. Not hit testable. Yeah, we don't want any of these to be hit testable because if you do, it'll essentially block the input from the player, which we actually need to do that for the inventory slots. We were having issues with that on the image. The image, we want it to be not hit testable. And along with the text quantity, not hit testable. So compile all that. And we will go into graph. Now, we have each of these buttons, which I want to name. So this is the button underscore sort time. This is button underscore sort by name. This is button to sort by type. And this is button underscore sort quantity. So these are going to take the array of children in here, and it's going to take each of their item datas and compare them to each other and basically put them above or below where it needs to go, and thus sorting them in a way that is, feasible and easy for the player to understand. Now, I've never done a sorting system, so this would be my first time, so we're actually going to put that off to until I watch a video on it, and then after that I'll come back and I'll show you guys how I have figured out how to sort everything. But for now, we're just going to leave it like this and be like, okay, this is how we're doing it. Congrats. But with that said, let me actually wrap these, because the thing is that I'm thinking is that we should wrap each of these into their own panels. I mean, their own borders. That way each of these have a border that, kind of denotes them separately from stuff. So we're going to wrap each of these with a border. This might change later on, but for now I want to wrap each of them with a border just to kind of portion off the screen and show where things are going to be in the end of it. And then we will also wrap the canvas panel in a border. No, we don't want to wrap the canvas panel in a border. We want to wrap these two with a border of its own. Widget cannot accept children. Okay, so it can only be one per. The canvas panel, we can... Borders can only have one child, I'm a guess. Yes. Yes. Frustrating, but understandable. Okay. Now we want to get slots over here. And basically we want these to be the item slots that we will have, but we also want the sortings up here and over here. So we want more buttons up here to additionally not really sort, but to show and hide certain items that are not relevant to the tabs that we have selected. So with that, we want a border, which is just, I'm just making more borders to help, like I said, portion off screen regions and show where things are. Inside of this border, we want a horizontal box. Inside of this horizontal box, we are going to have what appears to be 3 buttons. the button we are going to fill. And we want this to be bordered to be anchored top right. Love it. We are going to expand this because we want these buttons to be a little chunkier. And we want it to overflow on either side of this. From the looks of it. Just gonna overflow a little bit there. So this is holding 4. So let's set this to 400. I just like nice numbers, so just cut me some slack when I do stuff, do micro adjustments like this. And that's probably negative 180, negative 180, negative 140. Beautiful. I'm just doing a bunch of these little micro things. That way I can feasibly understand my OCD and somewhat enjoy the placements that I got. Let's set this to 455 and this to 105. And then we want the position to be right around there. I think. So we got almost 2 squares here, almost 2 squares there. Okay, yeah. So negative 150 seems to be the golden number for this. All right. We do want these buttons to fill, and we want padding on the left and tops. The border has 455 spaces in the X, or 455 pixels in the X. For the horizontal box, we'll just go ahead and have no padding for now. Okay. So the horizontal box will have no padding. The border has 105 in the Y. Let's go ahead and make that 110 to make our lives a little easier. And then the buttons can have 5 on the top padding. 5 on the top padding, 5 on the bottom padding. And then for each button, let's see, 455 divided by 4. Ooh, that doesn't work out properly, does it? Wait, no, 455 divided by 3. Let's see, 45 times what? 45 times... So it's 15 times 3 is 45, and then it's like a decimal of some sort to get to the rest of it. So it's 150 for each button. 150.1.3 repeating. 151. So we're going to give it a 5 padding on each. Well, let's just give uniform 5s. I think might be the best way to go about this. And then we're going to duplicate these buttons. Like that. They are a little chunkier than I would like in the Y direction. So let us move the Y direction down a bit. Set this to maybe 90. That looks pretty good. We do want to change the style because the style is rounded box right now. I believe that. I thought that was under style. Rounded box. So yeah, we want to change that to just a regular box. We will get this all sorted out eventually. Delete. Control, duplicate, duplicate. Okay, now we have a bunch of boxes there. We kind of want the same deal going down the length here as well. Which, you know, it's getting there. It's getting there. It's taken some sort of shape. We now have those two set up. We want the right side here to have 3 buttons. It looks like they have, but I don't know if we really want to do that. Because what I'm seeing here is that we have weapons, armor, key items, right? But we're probably not going to have actual weapons and armor showing in our regular screen here. We're going to want a separate set of separate screen for the weapons and armor, which is fine. We can still do it from here. But when we tap the weapons and armor, it's going to have a different effect from when we tap key items and say ammunition, consumables, materials. So that's the issue that we're having here. But for now, let's just put in the texts. Doot, doot, and doot. All right. Appearance, justification. We want to put those there. Fonts, I think 20. Yeah. 20 seems good for now. While we're working around stuff. 20. Beautiful. And then this is a variable. Beautiful. This is button for... This will be weapons. Should we do show weapons? Button weapons. Show weapons. Nah. We'll just do button weapons. Button underscore armor. And this will be button underscore key items. Glorious. Let us change the text to reflect that, which would be weapons. Armor. And key items. Love that. Okay, we're going to have pretty much the exact same thing on the flip side of this, but we're going to want to have the text rotated 90 degrees for one, and we're going to have the buttons lengthwise instead of, you know, obviously horizontally. So let us go ahead and just take this, duplicate it. It's over here now. And we are going to anchor this to the side here. And from this, we want to replace the horizontal box with a vertical box. Okay. What is the dimensions of the box here? So 455 in the X, 90 in the Y. So we want to do 455 in the Y and 90 in the X. Simple as that. Now, the buttons themselves we have to set to fill again. Along with a 5 padding on each of them. Glorious. Okay, now the real issue is that I don't know how to rotate the text, so let's see if we can figure that out. Nope, we don't want to skew. Can we rotate? Ah. Shadow offset. Don't care about any of that. Transform policy, advanced margins, maybe? No. Pivot. Angle? There we go. Okay, so the angle we want to be 90. That's what we want. Love it. Okay, beautiful. So the angle that we are going to set all these to is 90. That's not what I want. We want armor to be set to 90. And this set to 90. All right. So now all of these are set to where they are rotated 90 degrees, and we can change the text of them. Which, the text here, I am going to put this as materials. Love that. Change the button to materials. Change this to consumables, I think is what is going to go here. Consumable. Text. And all of this is easily changeable. It's just getting it set up, you know, is nice to have. Okay, so the consumables is a little bit big. So what we are going to do is change it to 18, because I think consumable is the biggest word. Consumables. Yes, 16. Change it to 16, and we're going to copy that for all of them now, because we obviously want it to be uniform. It is unfortunate that 20 didn't work, but it happens, you know? This will be ammunition. Ammunition, and then we're changing this to ammunition. Beautiful. We could leave this kind of bigger since these are more important items. It kind of draws the attention a little more of the player, but the issue is that I guess all of the ones up here have shorter names, so it wouldn't be bad to keep them like this. You know what? I'm gonna let the developer, the team lead choose that. For now, we're just gonna set it like this and hope that things, you know, kind of work out. Do we have these set to non-hit testable? Oh no, I did not check that. We have them all set to visible. Okay, well, we need to go through and set these to non-hit testable, or not hit testable, because we don't want them to block off the player's ability to click on them. Is this the one? Yeah, okay. Open all of these. Text. Yep, we want to set all of these to not hit testable. Because we just want the buttons to be the ones that we can hit test. Yes. Is the vertical box not hit testable? It is. Okay. Glorious. I think that is good for the right side of the screen. Obviously, we're going to have these buttons all do something, but we're just not doing that yet. It's going to work out later. I just want to get this all set up for today because this is a lot that we have done today. And quite frankly, I'm sure you guys are a little tired of hearing my voice. So, on the left side, we are going to have something a little more complex, I would say. We're going to have something a lot more complex than what is usually seen. We are going to have a screen that is like a viewport into the character and how they are changing as you update these different stats on the right. So the fact of the matter is that we need to make sure that that doesn't really cause any issues. We want to make sure that it's updating in real time. And it's a little weird how to do that, and I'm not going to show it today because essentially it's what's the term that I'm looking for here? It's very words, you know, words. They're difficult sometimes. It's very in-depth, and you have to set up, like, basically different cameras, looking at different angles, and make it to where the camera can rotate inside this viewport, but not rotate Aya or the main character themselves. So that's why we're not going to set that up today. We'll set that up at a later date and hopefully get it working right. And last but not least, we actually want a horizontal box. We want horizontal boxes down here. We're not going to be adding the drag and drop functionality today either because obvious reasons. It's going to take a little bit. So what I'm thinking that we need down here is we want specifically inventory slots to go down here, and these are going to be what is currently equipped to the slots that we can use as quick items. So to do that, I think that we can just do it. First off, we're going to put a border just to denote the bounds of the object. We are going to go ahead and add a horizontal box to the border. And then in that horizontal box, we are going to have 4 children, which are just, I can type, W_inventory slots. So they're just going to be these inventory slots. They are going to be editable, and if you drag and drop the stuff from over here into there, then essentially I think that we can make it to where those are the ones that is going to be referenced. I don't know if we want to keep them out of this box yet and just in there or what. So for now, we're just not going to worry too much about that. For now, we are going to move the border anchors down to the bottom right. And make sure that it is anchored down there. Move it up here just a tad. And then we want to expand. So. Okay. There's the 4 slots. All right. And then we'll go ahead and get a border set up for where the viewport's going to be. It's obviously not going to be put in there yet, but we do want to have an idea of where that border is going to be. So give me 1 second. Oop. Border. Go into the canvas panel. We are going to go ahead and link this anchor to there. And we are going to pull it out and just expand it to pretty much take up this whole side. Something like that. And I don't know how exactly they want to set this up, but I'm going to leave the center of the screen free. That way you can see the main character kind of moving around in case there's like threats or something coming on. I think it would be really smart to have this kind of split here to where you have both sides of your peripheral kind of cut off. But if you're in a fight, you can just do this and then quickly like scroll through, try to get the item that you need, use it, stuff like that. And you can have this kind of stat screen up all at once while you're also playing in the game. It's a very interesting way to handle it. I don't know if that's exactly what they're expecting for this, but I think it could be a great way to handle everything that's going on, and hopefully it also sounds good to them. It could be, could not be. We'll figure that out. Now, oh god, we have so much work to do in this. For each of the sorts, we want to make sure to get a sort loop going and all that stuff going. And then for the buttons, ammunition, consumables, key items, all this stuff, we want to make it to where these are shown. And hide and do all that stuff that we needed to do. That being said, though, I think we are going to hold off on that for next time. The inventory system is obviously not completely finished, but it does have a lot going on with it, and it's usually something that the player is going to interface with a lot. It's going to spend a lot of screen time of the player, you know, moving around stuff in the inventory and doing all this, that, and the other. So it's important to get this right. Some games you might not need the inventory system as much, and some games obviously might have like specific inventory systems, such as like I saw a game that's like the inventory system is he opens his coat and looks inside his coat and stuff like that, and he's like a detective. Pretty cool. But for now, this is our inventory system. We might change it later on, but it's good to have it in place for the demo, and yeah. So, thank you all so much for coming out and enjoying this devlog as I slowly work in some more features that we have on the Unity project into Unreal. It is still a slow grind. It's still obviously taking up a lot of time and slow going because there's stuff that I don't know, there's stuff that you don't know, and there's stuff that the people on the team might not know. But it has been a wonderful time, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your days. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next devlog. Bye!